Good evening and welcome to the final broadcast of the 2022 Yeti Climbing National Championships. We have pared the field down to the top 8 men and women with 2 qualifying routes yesterday. Semifinals this morning here at G1 Climbing in Broomfield, Colorado. Pete Wood's here alongside Megan Martin, former national team member turned top shelf climbing analyst. Megan, we're going to have a bit of everything tonight. We have Olympians, we have last year's champions, we have rookies, we have youth world champions.
Yeah, we do. We have so many athletes, but then there are a few that are not here with us because some of them don't have to. Natalia Grossman, Brooke Rabbit, Colin Duffy, they don't have to compete because they're already qualified. Also, Jesse Grouper is here competing even though he also doesn't have to, which is really exciting. And then Melina Costanza is taking some time off. If you want to check out her Instagram, it's a good idea because she put up a really inspirational post about it. So go ahead and check that out.
Yeah, this is, even without those perennial champions, the field is super stacked. I mean, the boys have a little bit more time. You see them back here hanging out, reading, I guess.
I think they wrote down their beta.
Oh.
They're actually going over, that's Tim King on the right and Luke Meering on the left, and they're going over the beta after the preview. Since they all preview at the same time, the men have to wait till they go. So it's a good idea to try to get down what they saw so they don't forget, because if they wait for all the women to climb.
Absolutely.
Olivia Ma getting ready. Probably warming up a little bit more before she comes out here for the women. She's not one of the first couple of climbers, so we'll see her in a bit, but probably getting a little more warm-up time in. And, you know, ISO's always a cool place. You know, everybody does something different. You see some athletes with headphones on. I personally was always, you know, a chatty Cathy because, I mean, that's just who I am. Quinn Mason will be first out, so she's definitely getting ready to go because she'll be climbing quite soon. I'm sure she has the route fresh in her mind.
Yeah, you have that 6 minutes to preview the route. Something that we talked a little bit about if you watch the semi-final broadcast is the way that they go through that preview. They're looking for clipping stances, they're looking for body positions, they're looking for cruxes, and then they're collaborating. Rest, absolutely. So you get a little bit of help from your teammates and everyone kind of discussing what to expect on that route. Let's get into the format here, Megan. Lead climbing, 1 route. 8 men, 8 women have made the final. They have 6 minutes to climb the route, but time only becomes a factor if you rest maybe for too long. You don't want to run out of time, but we don't otherwise really use it. You're not trying to get to the top the fastest in any way, shape, or form. Available points on the men's route, there are 33 available points, essentially 33 hand positions, so holds and matches from the first hold to the top. And on the women's route, there are 45 points available. We also have pluses, so if you grab a hold and go plus, then you get that little bit of extra. So we got a few highlights to look for from the semifinal.
Here's a look at Annie Sanders, your #1 seed coming into the lead round. She definitely was able to put it all together in the semifinal after somewhat of a disappointing qualifier for her, getting all the way to the top of the route, not actually topping it, but look at that attempt to go for the final hold. She's looking to really put it out there tonight. And Kyra Condi is another one to watch coming in that 2nd seed position. Looked phenomenal all round so far. This is definitely a style of climbing on these angles that she likes, and it's totally showing in her climbing. So we'll have to see if she ends up on that podium tonight. Here she is backstage warming up a bit more before she comes out here. She has a bit of time as she's later on in the round for the women, but getting in those last bit of warm-up moves. And, you know, it's kind of cold in the gym, so a lot of the athletes need to keep their hands warm and really make sure they're as ready as possible.
Yeah, you want to keep the muscles moving. You want to kind of stay as loose and limber as you can. And sometimes just sitting down it's not fun. It's hard to sit there and do nothing. So you want to have a little bit of continuous movement. This is our semi-final results. So they are going to climb in the reverse order of this. But Annie Sanders was your top, as we saw earlier, just touching the last hold but not topping out. Kyra just behind got to the 38th hold. Zoe Yi, 34, and Adriana Kiko also right around 34. 3 climbers, Kate, Olivia, and Kylie, all right around that 33 plus, and then Quinn Mason a half a hold back at 33. So pretty tightly bunched. very closely matched this very deep women's final field.
Yeah, it's a very competitive field for sure. And after looking at the women's route, I'm really excited to see all of these athletes on this route because it looks really fun, and I think that it'll play to a lot of their strengths. And speaking of this amazing route, we are here at G1 Climbing and Fitness, an incredible facility in Broomfield, Colorado. I mean, you can see we have this mezzanine upstairs where the bouldering is. And here's some preview of some of the athletes continuing to warm up. But so cool to have that upper deck view for a lead competition specifically.
Yeah, the spectators love it for sure. You can get way more people in, and then you don't have to crane your neck that way. So that's a really good look there, the top down of the facility. So on the men's side, Jesse Grouper getting knocked out by a chalk ball. He qualified first. 25 points on this very, very stout men's semifinal. He got up, just started turning the lip into the head wall, and this is where he ran out of gas. That route was a kick in the face. Sean Bailey just behind him, qualifying in second place, getting up into 23 points. So you see him here. This is just trying to get this big red sloping dish, just trying to find something in his left hand, powered out here. He was excited about routes that climb a little bit more consistently, so he's looking for something that's going to test his overall route stamina, and boy, does he have it. Semi-final results. Jesse Grouper, as we saw, sitting at the top. Sean Bailey right behind him. A bunch of climbers there in the middle. Ellis Ernsberger, Hugo Hoyer, Tim Kang, all at 21 plus. Right behind was Dylan, also known as Bob Countryman. And then right behind him, Derek New and Luke Muring. So again, tightly bunched. The semifinals routes were an absolute kick in the teeth. I was having a chat with some of the route setters earlier this afternoon while they were setting the final, and what I got from them was that the route overall would be harder, but they would be slightly less involved up to about the halfway point, so they would have a little more gas in the tank, and then hopefully see some people getting closer and closer to the top. Megan, we want to see maybe one top, maybe two, so we're going to split this field by getting them pumped and getting them worked out over nearly 50 feet of climbing.
You just got a quick look at those route setters who put in a lot of hard work this week to make this all possible. Quinn Mason just getting a little refresh and also making a good decision and keeping her mittens on to keep those hands warm before she gets on the wall.
Yeah, she was saying that she just, she has cold hands in general, and then this gym, they keep it chilly so that it's not too hot for the climbers. But if you are a naturally cold person, you gotta keep those hands warm. Quinn Mason wasting no time, as you said, the route very fresh in her mind.
Exactly, and it's always so nice coming out first because there isn't as much pressure. You're the first one out here. The crowd is immediately cheering for every move you make, so I'm sure she's really happy and in a great position here to start climbing and already off to a great start. The opening of this route is really nice, and then it gets quite powerful in the middle. It kind of sets up a little casual at the beginning, like none of the women should fall that low. Unlike what we saw in the semifinal, there were possibilities where you could fall, but this was a little more secure, I'd say.
Yeah, a little more of a more pleasant introduction to before you get into the business, and just getting into it now. Right where the color changes, the route starts to kick back, so the angle changes probably to 30, 35 degrees overhanging. That top-down look is a good look at it. And I watched the route setters working on this section here for about an hour, tweaking holds, making it a little bit more positive, a little bit less positive in some places. So this section here, I think they really want to start getting the climbers into their fingers.
Yeah, and that lower hold she was on was probably the best of the screw-ons on those big EP holds that they're attached to. And this is about the section where it's really going to turn up. The more powerful section, the women are forced to kind of kick their feet up. They're forced to cut loose. When you're lead climbing, you generally want to have all 4 points on when you can. Quinn choosing to campus through this section, which there is some benefit to that. If she felt fresh enough to do that, she's moving through that movement quickly, whereas when you lead with your feet, yes, all 4 points are staying on, but there's a lot of tension that can be more strenuous sometimes. So her committing to that could have been a really good decision.
Yeah, if you're feeling good and moving well, then just make that decision to go campus. You see a funky little toe cam here, getting her heel and toe pressed up between these two blue volumes. She's going to steal a bit of a rest here. That left hand, good but not great. And the undercling also, I mean, you see her there like in that full 3-finger drag, just about pad and a half maybe.
Really, that heel-toe cam is what's keeping all the pressure off her upper body. And Quinn is really good at finding rests. I'd say that's one of her strengths when it comes to lead climbing. And remember, she is the defending national champion in this discipline. So she is going back for that title and looking really great so far. Another tricky section. Now, a lot of the women will love this heel hook here because the mobility in most female climbers is generally very good. So being able to heel hook and take the pressure off and really get your hips into the wall, these are positions that we like.
Yeah, and you're finding ways to get creative before you get into these very nasty little blocked crimps here.
This one specifically,
now
so
you see
nasty.
the sapping power.
Oh, she just missed the screw on and goes back to it. Really good adjustment there.
Quinn really fighting now. This left hand, this heel hook is helpful.
And the rest of this route is actually really difficult. Really nice climbing from Quinn Mason.
Fantastic stuff. Quinn really digging deep. She looked so composed coming out of the rest and then coming out of the two big yellow scoops. And then the business kicks in right at the end of the steep section there. Really good climbing from last year's national champion.
Yeah, she should be really happy with that. The only downside to coming out first is now you just have to wait and see what everybody else does. You don't know, whereas, you know, if other people go before you, you can find out right away, oh, where am I? Mm-hmm. Right now, she's in first, no matter what. And great climbing. We'll see if she can hold on. And I would say that after talking to the route setters, they assumed people would fall there at times, but they thought that people would fall lower too. So we'll have to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, it becomes a question of style versus fitness. Quinn didn't take a long time to rest in that heel-toe cam, so she looked like she was feeling pretty fresh. Some climbers will climb a little more slower. They'll take more rests along the way or sit in one rest for longer. Our next, climber is a very smooth, calm climber. I would expect Kylie to take little rests along the way, and then we might get into someone like Kyra Condé, who's known for sprinting.
Exactly, and this route specifically, there are not that many great rests, so it becomes a game of, will this rest actually help me recover, or am I just continuing to zap my energy? Because the angle is pretty aggressive and the rest positions aren't incredible. The holds are okay. And I mean, earlier we had Cece in here and she was talking a lot about positions, and that is the way you find the best rest. But there is a fine line. Sometimes you're sitting there resting, in reality, you're not really getting anything back, and moving might be better. Like a shake, and then go. Yeah,
you sort of, in your mind, you're saying, I'm resting, it's good, I'm resting, it's good, but every time you switch hands back and forth, there's no recovery.
I still feel really tired.
Yeah, the pump is for real.
What is this?
What is this feeling of the not being able to close my hands?
Yeah.
And it's real on a route like this. To make some of the best climbers in the country fall in less than 50 feet is no small task.
Kylie quickly into the opening section. It's always nice when you come out and the opening moves aren't so risky, very friendly, because we haven't really seen that as much this competition in either the lead or bouldering disciplines. So I'm sure the women are pretty psyched that the opening moves are not so taxing and they don't have to overthink anything, and they can just kind of climb and find their flow as they go through the roof. And it starts to turn on at those big pink holds with the yellow holds screwed up. Goodness, the yellow holds screwed on.
Just like we drew it up.
The rain in Spain says mainly in the plane.
It's perfect, really. A master class, Megan, a master class. I will note too that everyone has a different preference to what they are going to see when it comes to a finals route, but almost to a competitor, they all want to show what they're capable of. So they don't want to have a route with lots and lots of high-risk slips and trips. They want to have something that's going to pump them out, and where they end up coming off because they just can't squeeze the holds anymore. See, keep an eye on the score there. That's as live as it comes. So each hold she moves through is going to keep her score going on. And you see, 22 plus, 23, and the plus is that movement. As soon as you grab a hold, if you make what we say is a climbing-related movement, so you shift your center of mass, you move a foot, you start moving your hand, you're going to get a plus on that hold. So when it comes down to it, pluses can matter. Sometimes you'll see athletes unable to clip, but will make one more move in order to get that plus score. And sometimes that's the difference between a gold medal and a silver medal.
Exactly, and we're seeing here Kylie choosing to use her feet a bit more through this section, and you'll notice that she did move through the section a bit slower than Quinn did, and that's the difference of kind of committing to campusing versus walking your feet through it. It just takes more time and possibly could zap your energy more, but then also being more powerful can. She does need to clip.
Yeah.
Looks like, luckily she can reach it.
Yeah. Sometimes you can climb past the clipping stance looking for a better one and then realize that you're not actually in a better place. But she's moving well here and moving quite quickly.
Oh, a little slip there.
Oh, my fault, I think.
It's the commentator's curse.
I think that was my fault. I even looked down and then looked back up and she missed that hold. I think maybe a slip there. It's often difficult to tell how pumped the climbers are, and they look completely calm until suddenly they simply can't stick a hold. So that might have been what we saw there, is Kylie just keeping her composure while trying to fight off that lactic acid burn.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of elite level climbers really not show that they're pumped. So then it's kind of a surprise to the audience, but in reality, they might have been feeling it longer. That's the thing too. I mean, I always felt that way with climbing, where I thought I looked terrible because I knew I was so tired, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, she looks so good. Wait, what? Actually, I have a really funny video from a World Cup where Brooke and Margot are, Brooke's filming me climbing and Margot sitting next to her, and they're like, oh, she's looking good, she's looking good. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, and then next thing you know, I just fall.
You fall through the frame.
They're like, oh no.
It's not happening after all.
It's like half a second and all of a sudden it's all over.
It's part of the game. So we talked about it a little bit during the semifinal. You're trying to outrun the forearm pump. You're trying to outrun the overall fatigue that you get through your core. All of the things that are playing up. Remember, they climbed 2 qualifiers yesterday. They climbed a semifinal this morning. All 3 of those routes were brutally difficult. So the route setters really testing the athletes, looking for those holes in the armor. What do they need to do to make sure that they can separate this field when it comes down to a final route? So they've been dealing with quite a lot. Skin is a factor, overall fatigue. And
so many of these athletes did the bouldering round. Some of the athletes in this final were also in the bouldering final. So it's a lot of climbing.
Olivia Ma now coming out, easing her way into the start of this route.
Really calm when she climbs. It's nice to see her out here in a final again. She's a really fun climber to watch. I feel like she kind of floats when she climbs. It's been nice to see her have pretty early success on this elite circuit, as we're seeing a lot of the young competitors do. But, you know, sometimes they do come out and they get shut down in a season. So it's really nice when they can make it into a final, make it onto a podium, and then start to gain that international experience very early in their careers, because then it helps to build that confidence. And that's what actually Olivia was talking about that earlier, about the confidence that this last season brought her coming into this competition, which is really priceless.
Yes, seasoned at a young age is experience that cannot be overlooked. You see her here looking very relaxed, sort of leaning back, making sure she sees where that next hold is. And now you have to maybe shift a gear. So you've gone from the intro, now you're climbing in the transition. This is where we saw the semifinal really started to really kick in. And here, a few more extra moves kind of to move through here. So this is a couple extra good holds than the semifinal, but now you're getting into the business.
And you might be wondering, how do the athletes see some of these screwed on holds to these larger holds? And there are athletes who come out during the preview who bring binoculars. Not everybody does, but there's always a few. And they're also looking for them. And there are a couple holds, I think you can see at the top of the screen, there's a tick mark that the route setters put there to let them know that there is a screw-on in that hold, and that's where they need to aim for. Also, there's a later egg-shaped hold that has that, and here's a close-up look at these little screw-ons. Oftentimes, they try to make them different colors from the holds they're on, but some of the yellow holds coming up have yellow screw-ons, so obviously those are a little harder to see. But again, the athletes are used to this. They're kind of learning to look for these kind of things, and it's not really a surprise. And it's just part of the whole process, you know? You have to learn to look for everything.
Yeah, as route setting has changed and as the evolution of hold pouring has changed and we get these big scooping shapes that are only good in one very specific place, you want to use the majority of that shape. That's what you want. You want a big sloping angle, but you want to make it slightly better. So this, we've adapted for competition and even commercial setting to say, you know, here's a big and nasty slopey scoop, but on this angle, we're going to give you a little bit of help.
Exactly. It just really helps or gives the route setters more ability to manipulate the movement and kind of force things that they want to force.
And sometimes you'll see them, they'll catch the lip of something and then have to move into the good part. So
we saw Quinn do, she just fumbled the clip.
Oh my goodness, just sort of, yeah. And that now is then proving to be maybe where the fitness is starting to bite.
Exactly, and it's funny because they've been dealing with long draws so much in this competition, and a lot of these draws are now shorter, so I wonder if like going back and forth between the draw lengths can be kind of tricky as well.
Yeah, it's one of the things, I mean, like we don't already have enough to deal with.
I know.
We add in, of course you have to clip the draws. In order to keep the rope running as plumb as possible to reduce rope drag and all of that, we have these longer draws, and they can be really, really annoying. And it's part of the training. So it's one of the things that we get used to is saying, hey, there are different ways to clip these long draws. I watched one of the route setters for running reach out with his foot, heel hook the long draw back in, and then clip it.
Yeah, and it's funny because this women's route too, they had one more long draw at the top that they were going to maybe have them clip before going to the finish, but then they ended up deciding to nix that idea because they didn't want to force the athletes to, or they were really afraid of an athlete trying to just skip it, then get to the top, and then not be able to clip the top / last quick draw because they didn't clip the previous one that was horizontal to it or lateral to it. And so it kind of, I thought that was a good decision because that's the last thing we'd want to see if all of a sudden you're not allowed to clip the last draw in top of the route because you skipped a clip that was lateral.
Kate Hardy coming out now, and we heard from her a little bit earlier about what it's like to come into a competition of this level.
Well, so for my first final, it's kind of scary because this is actually my first lead competition. And I just don't really know how it's going to go, but I'm just hoping to have fun.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. For years, Kate's been on the youth circuit, and she did ropes like a long time ago, but then realized she wanted to focus on bouldering. So she's known how to lead climb for a long time, but never gotten into the lead competitions, and decided all of a sudden that why not? And it's turning out to be really good for her since she's had a great competition so far.
Yeah, she's been climbing very well and looking like a seasoned competitor. She's been climbing very smooth and looking, for someone who said she's nervous, has looked pretty composed. And there is a difference, of course, Megan, in when you're in ISO and when you're watching and all this, and as soon as you grab the start holds, often that just melts away.
And we have joining us in the booth, Brooke Rabitou, Olympian Brooke Rabitou. Welcome to the booth.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for hanging out.
We're very excited to have you. So what have you thought of this finals route so far?
So far, it looks really, really fun. I would say it seems like, everyone's just trying to figure out how hard it is. It's always kind of a weird battle when you're on the wall and you're like, should I be trying hard, early on or later? But they're getting pretty high, and then it seems like it turns up right before the lip. But it's been exciting so far.
We saw Quinn rest longer than anyone coming through the blue volumes with a bit of a heel toe cam. If you have to fight to have a rest feel good, is it always worth it?
I think it depends a lot on the climber, honestly. Quinn, I know she is a rather slower climber. You can see Kate trying hard here, which is awesome.
She
that
almost
was
shorted
good.
that one.
I mean, she had a little sequencing issue earlier that she really fixed nicely.
Yeah,
She is going to elect
the heel hook.
move across with the trailing heel. There's lots of dealer's choice through here, really. It's where do you want to go feet first and then spin. We saw Quinn Campus, and you see here, this is just got to get this clip right.
Yeah, I feel like Quinn's one of the climbers who likes to find rest. Oh, she's struggling with the clip here. Let's see if she can get it back.
Yeah, so
she's in a good position, at least, to make it happen.
For sure, the hanging draws can be really hard to just catch sometimes.
We were talking about that earlier because this whole competition, there's been a lot of these long draws, and this route specifically has fewer of them on there, but now you're going in between long and short draws, which is kind of rhythm-wise can be a little awkward.
Yeah, and sometimes they're just swinging the wrong direction.
She's still on.
She is still hanging on. She's managed to regain composure twice now. After fumbling the draw, she took a breath and shook out, and then now...
And one thing I know about Kate is she is a fighter.
She is
proving that here right now.
I think she could still have a lot left to show us, so I hope that we get to see it.
That was a crazy save.
It was, and then, you know, she still looks like she's not quite redlining.
Wow. Also just making really good decisions with her body, like as straight-armed as possible.
Yeah, keeping the tension.
Yeah, really not pulling hard with her biceps so she can save energy.
You see a really good look at that open hand.
She is fighting.
Grip. Just got to find, if she can find a stance to clip this draw, maybe she is just going to go for the plus.
I was going to say, I feel like at this point she should just go for the movement, but really great showing from Kate Hardy.
From her.
That was an incredible fight.
Yeah, I think you could tell that she was a little bit nervous she never quite found her flow, but
yeah, she kind of got thrown off in that earlier section when she kind of read the sequence wrong and went left hand to one of the crimps instead of right hand, had to backtrack.
But for a first lead competition and first final, I think she should be really proud of that.
Exactly, the experience level.
When you are previewing a route and you have your sequence dialed in and you get it wrong when you're climbing it, do you have something that you say to yourself in that moment, or do you just sort of buckle down and head forth, or do you get into the, it's fine, it's going to be fine, don't worry about it?
Yeah, I would say usually I just try and take a breath, and sometimes that can be really hard depending how difficult the moves are, but just taking one breath to recenter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'd say with you too, like as a climber watching you, that's something you've gotten better at over the years.
Yeah, for sure. It takes experience.
We got a lot of really cool things coming up. Let's head out to a commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be coming right back with the last 4 climbers of the round.
This is not just a climbing gym. You can come here and be whoever you want to be. I was a lost soul. I had affiliated with the gang life at the age of 12, but I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have a place like this I could come to, and those were the only people at the time I can relate to. But the more I started coming to Memphis Rocks, I started to meet kids who don't look like me. I was like everyone else because I looked around and everybody's in the gym doing the same thing, climbing. A lot of the problems I had on the ground, once I got on the wall, they stayed on the ground. It makes my soul like want to jump out of my body because I know the more kids that are in here, the less kids that are out there that can get in trouble.
Welcome back to the finals at the 2022 Yeti Climbing National Championships. We are right in the middle of the lead final. 4 climbers down, 4 climbers to go. Tight competition so far. Quinn Mason climbing very well into the head wall, just a few moves into that last pitch, putting herself in first place at 38. And then Kylie, Olivia, and Kate all right in that section where it gets nasty into those pink holds. It gets a bit slopey. They get powered out. So we've seen a mixture of climbing so far down on the bottom. Everybody looking pretty good, and then a few people maybe running out of power, a few people maybe getting a sequence wrong, a little bit of everything so far, and we'll see what Adrienne Akiko can bring us on this route. There is definitely room at the top.
Yeah, and she's from around here, so she has experience on this wall a little bit. Sometimes that can help. Sometimes it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I'm excited to see her out here.
Yeah, we heard from her a little bit earlier about the advantages of being at home.
Yeah, sleeping in your own
I want to just like get out of the gym, out of the environment, drive home since I live in Denver, and then I just took a nap, and then my grandma and mom are prepping an amazing dinner, which is on my story. My favorite, well, I guess I'll just tell you my favorite meal is like rice noodles with all the vegetables and then some hoisin sauce. So
That sounds.
There's nothing like getting a break and being able to go to your home, relax, and have a good meal. Because when you're traveling, it's hard to have a meal that's, not from a store or a restaurant. And even a good one, it's not the same as being able to cook at home. So that really does help in terms of the recovery in between rounds.
Yeah, just a home-cooked meal also to ease the nerves and take a nap in your own bed. It's definitely, that home field advantage can feel really good.
And you, even when you sort of stack on top of that, if you're not from an area and you find a restaurant that's actually not that good, you can't find a grocery store, and then you're left being, man, am I hungry? I didn't get what I wanted to eat. I heard, I overheard somebody yesterday, I'm not going to call it any names, saying, don't eat spicy food before your qualifiers.
That is always definitely, I've done that before. I had Indian food once in between rounds. Not necessarily the best idea, but you figure it out. I survived, but it wasn't pretty.
She's looking really good here, really calm.
And she kind of did the same thing Kate did, but instead of trying to backtrack on those pink holds with the yellow holds screwed onto them, she just kind of kept going, which again plays to the experience. Kate, first lead competition, so climbed beautifully, but
interesting.
Getting through those little mistakes.
Using the very top of that volume, she's now going to elect to go heel hook. I really love the look at that, careful, that sort of shuffling piano match that we saw on the first crimp.
Just trying to figure out how she can keep some energy too.
Yeah.
I honestly kind of think the campus method looked the best because Quinn got through it so quickly.
Yeah.
Versus trying to track the foot, I feel like it's somewhat awkward.
And then still got into this resting position. So she did still come back to the heel as Adrian did. So you kind of hustle into the heel hook.
Especially with how steep this wall is. If your feet are on the wall and they cut accidentally, holding that swing can be, a risk of falling, obviously, but also just dispense a lot of energy.
Yeah, and if you just commit to cutting your feet, then you know what you're getting into and you can have your body in the right positions to make it as little taxing as possible.
Well, Adrian now getting into the start of the business, where we saw Quinn find really good body positions, and everyone else has really tried to fight here.
She's looking good.
Yeah, she's in a good spot, clamping down on that foot. She does look a little tired. See if she can get to a good part on this hold. It is blocked.
Just when she didn't bring that foot up, I started to get worried that maybe that was not the position, that overreaching your toes at any level of climbing. I don't care if you're climbing 5'8", or 513 plus, if you outclimb your footwork, then things can get pretty difficult for you. But Adrian, a good fight to there, and that's enough. I think that is going to pop her up into, if that's not hold 30.
That's hold 34, so she should get 33 plus
33
for that.
Plus, yeah. So tying with Kylie.
Well, but then being ahead of Kylie with the count back, so that should put her in podium contention right now.
With three very strong climbers.
Very talented climbers. The whole field is quite stacked. Yeah. What are your thoughts? Because this is a lot of athletes in this final that are fresh into the Elite Series. Both Zoe and Annie are 15 years old.
Yeah, I think it's really special to see that new generation coming. I feel like I'm an old competitor now, which is crazy.
At just 21 years old.
Yeah, at just 21. When I competed in Tokyo with the team, I was the oldest of the girls, which is crazy to me.
That's crazy. It's crazy to me too, I promise. It's
Still
not just
feel like a kid, but so it's really cool to see them come out here and fight for it. And I know they're just gaining experience. It's just going to make them stronger, and hopefully they'll get to join us on the World Cup team.
If you think back to your last national championships, and then you pair it up against World Cup and you pair it up against the Olympics, is the pressure of the event is enough, or are you saying, this isn't quite as much as A and B, or do you just, in the moment, you're saying, if you're dealing with pressure, you don't have to try and compare it to anything?
I think that's hard. I would say they're not very comparable. and not in a way that like nationals is lesser, but it's just the climbing style and the atmosphere is so different. To me, nationals is almost more pressure because it's that, you know, inside competition, trying to make the team so that, because you want to be able to travel the world and compete at all the World Cups, and just like a little bit scared sometimes of slipping. But then again, pressure is just always experience, and being out there and doing what you love in front of a crowd, the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get. So I think all of it is, yeah, great experience for the future.
Yeah, very well said. Super valuable to take that experience in any environment, even if you're climbing at a provincial or a university championship. You get the feeling of having to walk out in front of the lights, in front of a crowd, and turn around and be like, oh, it's time to climb now.
Yeah,
it's time to go to work.
And sometimes it's just testing different things as well, of like, okay, today I want to be more precise, see how that works. You know, today I want to turn my brain off and just flow. And I've had so many experiences where I'm like, that was great, and I might not do that again, or that was great, and I want to, you know, change it a little bit, but finding really what works best for you in those moments.
And someone who shouldn't change much at the moment right now is the way that Zoe Yi is climbing.
I was going to say she's recovered nicely. She was a little hesitant at the opening of the route, which we haven't really seen as much from the women, but I feel like she handled it really well and has already come back and found a really good flow now, which is a very difficult thing to do on a route.
Yeah, I think she is one of those climbers that can just keep going for a long time. So if she can get through the moves, she'll be able to recover.
Yeah, she showed that she had power to spare.
I'm sure she was going to canvas this.
Yeah, of course she was going to canvas that. Took the words right out of my mouth. She did it before I could even say it.
She definitely floats. She's a floater.
Yeah, we saw her in qualifiers. It wasn't live streamed, unfortunately, but there was a big move that a lot of the competitors were falling at, and she just went for it, grabbed it, and then hung no hands and chalked up, and it was the whole gym was like, that was awesome.
Did we actually
not
just see that?
everybody can do that.
Good look at the jibs, the screw-ons that they're dealing with. They're not great. They're not like bitey crimps. They're just enough for you to add a little more friction to this section of the route. And this, I said, a really good look at this undercling as Zoe fights with this long draw a little bit as well.
Good recovery.
I love hearing, I can hear Kylie cheering for her in the background.
I know, yeah, because they're teammates.
Yeah, they're teammates out in between like San Diego and LA area. And I love seeing those, teammates cheering for each other, being genuine.
Yeah, we've got a pretty good crowd out here tonight. It's nice to see all the people coming out to support. Wow. And you know, she is one of the smaller climbers competing tonight, so she's going to have to be dynamic, and we're seeing that from her a lot. Only 5'2" with a +3, quite small.
It's awesome to see her turn on that power right now as it's going to get more intense.
Just getting a bit of a reset, but getting this left foot up is very, very promising. Getting those few little wrist shakes, those micro shakes.
Right to the screw-on, too.
Yeah,
Quinn kind of had to fumble there a little bit because she hit the actual hold before hitting that screw-on. Oh, slip. Really nice climbing.
That was really nice climbing, yeah. A little heel slip, but I think her body wasn't quite in the right position to keep it, so.
Yeah, it looked like her hips kind of were falling out, so when she went, she didn't have the same tension that she had before. I'm really excited to see someone get to that upper boulder problem because it is so risky and just full on.
Yeah, that smearing on slab at the end on a rope climb. Definitely got to remember to take some deep breaths there.
Yeah.
So she's moved herself into second place at this point.
Which means that Quinn should be on the podium.
No matter what, yeah. So that'll make her happy as the defending national champion.
For sure, especially as coming out first into the finals. She really she looked calm, cool, and collected and just climbed.
She did. She looked like she was in a really good headspace. Definitely the best I've seen her all week. Week.
There's
because we had bouldering too. So cute.
Yeah, it's don't ever think that just because you're coming out at the beginning, so you're the lowest placing qualifier into a round, don't count anyone out when it comes down to a finals.
I think it's the best place. I feel like it's the least, I already said this, but the least amount of pressure. You can really just focus on yourself. You focus on setting the high point for the round.
Yeah, I mean, it allows you just to go out there and nothing to lose. Just give it
everything to gain.
Coming out from her a little bit earlier about her training coming into this event.
Yeah, so I was really excited to make the finals in both bouldering and lead. I've definitely been training both a lot with a big focus on lead, especially because I just got off the World Cup circuit for the 2022 World Cup circuit. And so definitely the Olympics and the new combined format is something I'm thinking about, and definitely have a lot of training to do, but something I'm working towards.
Something you're working towards, having, being up and around the podium. I would say that it's working quite well at this point.
Yeah, both boulder and lead finals. I know she's going to be happy with that, and it's awesome to see the work that she's putting in. I'm happy it's paying off.
Yeah, she's been putting in so much work, and it's so funny because every time I have a conversation with Kyra, I forget that she talks so fast, which is very similar to how she climbs. Although I will say right now she's going slower than normal.
Yeah,
but it makes sense because she's in more of a slab part of the climb, but I feel like she's going to pick up the speed soon.
Even there, just the way she shuffled the match to the undercling.
Yeah, it was quicker.
Yeah, she's naturally a very, very fast climber. I know she's been working on just pacing in general, which a lot of us athletes do. It's important to find your own, so if going fast works for her, that's great, but sometimes, like I said, those deep breaths to slow it down is important
just
for everyone.
To reset, right?
Yeah.
And this is such an angle and a wall size that is so suited for her climbing style. So I know she's had a really good time so far competing in lead, specifically because it is kind of catered to her really nicely.
Yeah,
I mean, she won team trials in lead, so it's not like she can't win nationals in lead, and I know she really wants to since she hasn't been national champion.
And the benefit of training in Salt Lake with such a core group of the national team obviously paying off when every time you go to the gym, there's someone who can burn you off a route or a boulder. You're getting a slightly different look at the heel hook rest. Everyone's going to have
She's got the rope on the wrong side of her body right
and
now.
you see her hunting for it.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I feel like with the long draw, not so bad. With the shorter draw, that might have been a little cruxy. Ooh. Interesting. A leg clamp. Hey, I'm into it. When in doubt, knee it out, leg it out, whatever you want to do.
Definitely.
Moving well kind of left to right. I like when climbers climb across the plumb line like that, finding that the gravity-based balance points.
I think if she can keep it together here, she's really going to like the tic-tackiness of this part.
Yes, and like being able to sit on her heel here. Take a little breather.
And that under wrap there of the left heel, taking a little more weight off.
Yes. I mean, you can tell she has more in the tank, how precisely she went to that hold.
Yep.
Nasty little crimps.
She is really fighting. Oh, man, really good effort.
Really, really good
Fantastic climbing, Kyra Condi. I feel like that's 30.
That should be 37.
37 plus.
36 plus. 36 plus. So
same spot as Zoe, but she's going to beat her on countbacks.
So it won't be a gold medal for Kyra Condi, but currently, well, she's on the podium no matter what.
Yeah, that's awesome.
She'll be really happy with that. Wow, we're already down to one climber. How is that happening?
So fast.
It goes so fast that, we've been here for 6 days, and all of a sudden it comes down
Has
to...
it been just 6 days?
Just 6 days. And now, 8 climbers climbing for less than 6 minutes each. Bam, here we are. And as the last climber coming out, Annie Sanders, I feel if you are in this crowd, you're excited to see if she's going to light it up.
Yeah. Very excited, hoping that we get to see the top of this climb, see how it's done. I think that there's a big possibility she can do it for us.
Yeah, and the climbers want, of course, to show you what they're capable of. They look at the route and be like, oh, I want to climb the whole thing. The setters want you to see the movement they've created through the entire route. So I know that, all of us, along with everyone else, is hoping that somebody can just sort of latch that next crimp, get established on the big yellow hold, maybe get a few shakes and take this thing to the top.
And looking at this route, I do think that the only section...
Awesome. Honestly, I didn't really expect to make finals since I did.
Heard from Annie a little bit earlier as well, just talking about this experience at Nationals.
It would be awesome. Honestly, I didn't really expect to make finals since I did pretty bad during the qualifying round. So it would be awesome.
Now,
I mean, it's not really something that I'm looking to achieve right now. I feel like if I wanted to like go to the Olympics, I would look towards LA 2028. So yeah.
You see her sort of balancing off being a national champion versus thinking ahead to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Coming in with no expectation. I love she didn't climb well
Yeah,
during
you
the
have to put that in
qualifying.
quotations for sure. I mean, she didn't climb to her ability, but, you know, a lot of people would dream to climb that well. But
For sure. I think that you could just tell that
perspective.
maybe, you know, she was pretty stressed during that qualifiers, probably after winning bouldering and having expectations from herself and probably perceived from others, whether they, you know, had them or not. It can be hard to go into that, especially at 15 years old. It's a new world.
Yeah, it's a huge new world. And she also mentioned that she was a little tired and more tired than she thought after bouldering. And just with a little more rest and a little more reset, she felt a lot better coming into the semifinal round. Now, looking at this route, I feel like the only part that would cause her some trouble is that more powerful blue section, just because it's up in the air what you want to do, so it'll depend on her decision making, which I do think her decision making is really good, but she definitely doesn't like to release from the wall so much. So as long as it doesn't frazzle her too much and she just sticks to a plan and is comfortable and exactly, then I think she'll be able to fight through that upper section so well. I feel like that's so in her wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think she'll really like the section on the yellows and into the pinks, where we see those crux spinning off a lot of climbers, because it has the heel hooks and the high feet, and that she has really good hip flexibility as well.
Yeah. See, she's a little hesitant here.
Definitely see some hesitation.
It's all about the commitment.
Something, Megan, you were talking about watching her in the semifinals, that if she commits to agreeing to the risk, then she does just fine.
Yeah.
But she has to almost talk herself into it to say, there's risk here and I'm going to take it.
Yeah,
And
you could see right in that step, she hesitated, and then kind of, it seemed like a little switch flipped, and she was like, okay, I've got to go for this.
Yeah.
Even, you know, throwing up the hand and then throwing up the heel. So I'm hoping she can kind of turn that around for this climb and really give it all.
And she ran out of time at the end of the semis route, so she is definitely one of the athletes who needs to pay attention to the clock. I'm pretty sure she already glanced down at it right after she threw her foot up, because it's a good angle to kind of look down and not throw yourself off the wall.
And
But
also
moving-
because she's coming into a rest going, how long can I hang out here?
That too, and you know, having paused in that moment before getting into that section, it's good to kind of check your time. I do think that, you know, committing to those risky movements is something she'll progress at the more time she spends in the adult circuit, because those movements aren't as present in the youth circuit. They happen.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more risk in adult, and as well, you know, even just from nationals to World Cups. We've seen just more risk progress throughout the sport, I would say. Bouldering has turned a little more parkour. Ropes has turned a little bit more bouldering.
Yeah, gone are the days of just, we're going to line up 60 feet of crimps and see how long you can hang on for.
I know.
That would be funny. You know, occasionally they do that kind of stuff and just to mess with you. See if you can remember how to do that.
See if you remember the history of your sport. You're like, can you crimp for 60 feet? Let's find out. Yes, as we're getting into this section here where I think you've well pointed out that if she can keep her feet under her and stay in those heels and toes, she has really good compression, like hand to foot compression, and
So much
maintaining
tension.
body position, that this might absolutely suit her well.
And she is only 5'3", but she has that +5 wingspan, so she's really able to keep her feet on in a lot of scenarios,
keep
even
that
though
tension.
yeah,
You see
even
it.
though she is so short.
And she's going to like this next part as well.
Yeah.
Quinn watching a little bit in anticipation, maybe a little bit nervously. This is potentially her gold or silver medal is being climbed on right now. Annie Sanders looking good. It's hard to tell if that's a back off to get a real shake, or just she's just managing body position.
And she likes to shake and rest more than most, so you can't, like, some people you're like, oh, I can tell that they're really tired, but with her, I guess I haven't watched her enough, honestly, and it's hard to tell. It does look like she's a little...
She's definitely hesitating on this move.
Yeah, for sure. But she probably still, then she does a move and you're like, oh, okay, well, she's still here for a bit.
And climbs into full lock-off.
Yeah.
The clock is now a significant issue.
You can see her hips getting close to the wall. That just allows her
Clock
to
is
get
running
a lot.
really low.
Oh, yeah, there's 35 seconds left.
Like,
Yeah.
she needs to make a few more moves to make it onto the podium at this point.
Yeah. Annie Sanders.
Wow.
Climbing. Now my hands are sweating. She's climbing
She
so
literally
slowly.
needs to like move in
Yeah.
order to
Just-
make it onto the podium.
Stressful.
We're all leaning forward. There we go.
Well, at
One
this
more
point,
move and she has the gold medal, I believe.
Yeah. I think it's right here.
Right
if
here,
she can
this is-
stick this yellow.
before the clock runs out. Oh no!
Oh
That was
my
exciting.
goodness.
So is that,
That's
does that take a second to figure
It'll
it out?
take a
That might
second
be
to
the
catch
same
up.
as
I think
Quinn,
that might be
think.
38 plus.
I think just
Well,
38, but
I
she'll
know
win on
just 30.
countbacks.
Yeah, she'll win on countbacks. Yep, same score, and she'll win on countbacks.
Wow, that was, ooh, my
What a
hands are
fight!
sweating.
I know. Gosh, running down the clock really just snuck up on
That
us.
is impressive to show how much endurance she has to run down a clock on a rather short wall as well, and in a powerful
steep,
climb.
such a steep wall.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
I wish I would have paid more attention to the clock when the other women were climbing, because I wonder what their time was compared.
2
I don't know
minutes.
why I wasn't even
I
paying
think 2
attention
minutes.
to it.
I think Quinn was up there with 2 minutes to go.
Quinn did move fast and generally faster than
I think
she
Kyra
does
had
normally.
4
Yeah.
minutes by the time she got up there.
Quinn
Not
seemed
quite.
like she took a long rest, but then she booked it.
She kind of had more of that like rest sprint approach.
Yeah, a little bit more flow, but wow, that was really impressive climbing. Just
really was.
to fight.
Yeah, and to the composure to not, I mean, maybe it's counterintuitive. The clock is running down, but she didn't sort of adjust or speed up as that came across her field of view. It's like, I mean, I have some time, but what do we go?
Yeah, you want to, watch the clock, but you don't want to rush it either. And I think she just found out that she won from Kyra, it looks like.
Yeah, well, I mean, how's that for a weekend at 15 years old to be double national champion?
Yeah. She's gonna go back to school on Monday and be like, well, I had a fun weekend. I won 2 huge events. No big deal.
No big deal. Here's your podium. Annie
the best.
Sanders and Quinn Mason getting to that 38th hold. Kyra Condi getting ahead of Zoe based on countback at 30 plus. So gold, silver, and bronze right there. Annie Sanders. What else can you say? A wonderful young talent showing it this weekend at Nationals.
Well, Brooke, thank you so much for joining us in the women's final, and Al is going to be announcing the women's results right now.
Thank you so much.
And in first place, the unstoppable, the unbelievable, and the amazing Annie Sanders! There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it for all these ladies one more time. We're about to take it from the top for the gentlemen.
All right, there is your women's podium. Annie Sanders, double national champion. Megan is on her way over to her right now for an interview as we just pan through the crowd here that has been slowly packing in to this venue, G1 Climbing here. Just having a look at the finalists getting all their stuff together. We think we're going to check some statistics for you. We think that this is the first time we've had a 15-year-old be double national champion, and I would not be surprised if that was in fact the case. So you see Annie over there, she looked composed after every round. Even after winning, she just looks like, this is, I've been here before, I know what this is like. A really good look at the crowd here. You see the mezzanine affording that really good view of the top half of this route. Really, really cool route setting. We saw lots of different styles showcased there. We saw different styles of climbing in different styles of movement across the same route. And that's what you want out of a national level final. You want to see the climbers put everything out there. You want to see them coming off the wall with their elbows up. You definitely gave everything you had. Quinn Mason coming out from 8th place and climbing her way into a silver medal. How fantastic is that to see her have that composure, last year's champion, managing to get back on the podium, not letting that, maybe sometimes you're disappointed, you thought your semifinal was going to go better, but the ability to take that and throw it aside and say every round is a clean sheet for the most part, I get to come out here and show what I'm capable of on this finals route. And she did exactly that, coming out first, winding up the crowd, and then everyone after that, turning everyone away except Annie Sanders. She is just getting set up with Megan now, and we're going to hear from our, we think, youngest national champion.
Annie, huge congratulations. You won the bouldering round, and now you've won the lead competition as well. Do you feel so relieved?
Yeah, I'm honestly glad this comp is over. It's been a very long week.
I'm sure, I mean, I hope you celebrate so much. It was incredible to watch you fight through that climb. I saw you take a glance at the clock around the blue section. What was running through your mind at that time?
I just had to make sure I wasn't gonna like run out of time, even though I almost still did time out. But I just, when I paused to like look at the clock, I just had to remind myself that I had to have fun and smile.
Oh, good. Well, I'm so glad you had so much fun. It was so much fun watching you, and I'm so proud of you. And congratulations on becoming not only the bouldering national champion, but now the lead national champion.
Thank you.
There you have it. Words from Annie Sanders, double national champion. One last look at your leaderboard. Annie Sanders, Quinn Mason, and Kyra Condi are your podium. Zoe Yee, Adrian Akiko, Kylie Cullen, Kate Hardy, and Olivia Ma rounding out that top 8. What a women's final. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere. Coming up, we have the men with this guy, Luke Muring, among 7 other of the best men in the country. We will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 2022 Yeti Climbing National Championships here at G1 Climbing and Fitness in Broomfield, Colorado. It is the lead final tonight. We just finished watching the women throw down on their finals route, and the men are coming right up. They had, like the women, of course, they climbed in a semi-final earlier today, and they go away, come back, we make them climb again. Here's our climbing order. We're gonna go from bottom to top, coming out on the wall, but your top qualifier, Jesse Grouper getting the highest up on that semi-final route, followed closely by Sean Bailey, then Ellis Ernsberger, Hugo Hoyer, and Timothy Kang, all in that 21+ section of that route. Dylan, also known as Bob Countryman, Derek New, and Luke Muring rounding out that top 8. An absolutely stacked field, just as it was on the women's side. Megan, what do we have to look forward to? More of the same.
So much good climbing. Here's Luke Muring taking advantage of his fan, which those are not easy to travel with, by the way, but always helpful in keeping your skin dry. I think the route tonight's going to be very exciting. I feel like the semifinal round was really cruxy for the men. They kind of felt very uncomfortable the whole time they were climbing, and I think they're going to enjoy this one a bit more. It's going to be difficult, and it has cruxes, but there's definitely more places where you can feel comfortable. The opening isn't as crazy. Now, there is some risky movement. You might be catching a bit of the shine from some of the slippery parts of the dual textured holds as we pan up on this route. And also, there's a lot of these expression volumes that don't have holds on them. It's just the volume itself that they're going to have to grab. So that's always kind of difficult as well, but I think it's going to be a very exciting route, and Luke Muring is going to get us started.
If you saw on the way up there, there's one red pocket hanging out in the middle of this black, white, and gray route. We heard a little bit early on the route reveal thanks to the North Face.
Oh, on this men's finals route, I'm super psyched for the competitors to get their left hand into this red pocket, swing their feet out in front of them, get 2 heel toe cams, and climb towards their feet. We have one of our route setters, Ryan Sewell, here to demonstrate it. Ryan, you ready? Nice, dog. Can't wait to see how the athletes pull this off.
Thanks to Jonathan Brandt and the North Face for that route reveal. And it's funny because it's the only red hold on the entire route, so it's shining like a beacon. They would have previewed. They know they've got to go at least big. Whether or not they get right into that heel toe cam and how they deal with the exit from that remains to be seen.
It is a really cool movement section. Now, this opening section of the route is a little more technical. They've used a lot of these volumes to make a lower angle wall than is already there. So it's like very delicate climbing in this opening section, kind of similar to what we saw from the women's semifinal, where there's holds, you can find good positions, but you have to be very cognizant of every foot and hand placement. And then there's risky moves like what we just saw Luke do, where you have to kind of stand up into that Gaston
under some
on
bad feet.
Yeah. Jinx.
Touche, yes.
There is another stand-up move coming up. At the top of our screen, you see a volume, and they're going to have to stand up onto this white volume and then press up into this volume that has no holds underneath it, which is really precarious.
Yeah, we are maybe seeing the least number of actual holds on a finals route at a national championship. The volumes are just, they create really cool movement, body position, allows sort of the laybacks and the flat underclings. It's a different kind of pump, Megan. There's a lot of body tension through these expression volumes. It's a very dramatic logo. Doesn't mean don't grab here. That's just the Expressions Hold Company logo standing out across these gray volumes. And it makes for a really cool looking route. So far climbing very interestingly, and Luke doing a bang up job.
Yeah, he's climbing very confidently through. Just a little foot mishap, not bad, but like getting caught in the rope for a second, handled it really well. It's just so funny how little things like that, when they happen, they can either be fixed quickly or it can be a detriment to the whole flow of your climbing and can throw people off, but he handled it really nicely. Awkward clip there.
Yeah, the long reach, and he's been on that left hand for quite a while. He was on the left hand for the move before that as well, so he's going to look for a little respite on the left side. This heel hook, pretty good. You see a good look at what he's dealing with. Slopey crimp.
Another dual textured hold, just the left side of that screw on that he's on has texture. The right side of it is that slippery texture.
And if you're just joining us, if you're late catching up, we're just getting into the men's final. Pete Woods here with Megan Martin at G1 Climbing and Fitness in Broomfield, Colorado. On the men's final route, here we see this funky red pocket move that we saw just a minute ago. We'll see how Luke deals with it. Is he going to commit to this early release?
Looks like he is. It looks like he wanted to do something else at first and then quickly realized that he kind of had to. He set that toe hook with the right foot at first, and now he's nicely into that foot jam. And now he can kind of perch himself on this volume and kind of climb around it. He's going to have to pinch this other volume to kind of get himself around it. It's kind of cool.
You see the route setters there in the bottom of your screen watching him climb through here, just seeing if he gets it right.
Nice.
He's in a really small box, and Megan, it looks like he's half recovering. He's starting to look a little stressed to me.
Oh, and he's finding this little jam on the right side to kind of alleviate some of that tension that he was having to hold, and because he is kind of getting a little tired. I agree with you that he is becoming more and more fatigued. Now, if he kind of turns that jam around, it'll make it easier for him to kind of go to the next hold, this undercling out left. I think he was able to do that. He did that exactly. So really good route reading. And I mean, it's always curious to know if he read it that way from the ground or if his body just pushed him into that movement, which is what's also so cool about climbing in general.
Yeah, you can read something from the ground, and then when you get there, as soon as you perch that left foot, you think, oh, I'm just going to slowly tip over the center line of this route, and I'm going to fall into the natural position. Luke Buren getting up into this pinch, finding this crafty little toe hook for a minute.
And, you know, this section is really difficult. He's honestly making it look not as difficult as it is, kind of just reading every sequence nicely.
Yeah, and then
just going to come up short. Ooh, his legs caught above him, but he's okay.
That won't be the worst fall,
scary.
Yeah. That won't be the worst fall he's taken, but a funky fall nonetheless. So that's a good example, Megan, where he decided to skip the clip to try and get to the next hold.
Another look at him leaving the wall. You see, because he skipped that clip, the rope was kind of underneath him, so he fell into it. But luckily, he looks okay. It doesn't even look like he got a rope burn, so all okay. And always good to go for the points. The clips are not worth any points, so if you're in a position where you know you can't clip, but you want to go for the points, it's always a good idea, because who knows, 27 plus, this could end up being the high point for the entire round. And what if a lot of people get to 27? You know, you're going to be happy you went for that extra movement.
Yeah, and it's something that you train into, and you get it as part of your DNA as a lead competitor. Is when things start to go south, you're looking for points. These men and women fall all the time. So falling in competition often looks dramatic because they climb themselves into positions where you normally wouldn't. So they do take some big falls. We have very, very, very experienced, seasoned belayers here keeping our athletes off the ground, so they don't have to think about it. I think you mentioned in the semifinal that there are some people who maybe are afraid of falling, but as soon as you're competing and climbing on lead, the idea of falling goes out of your mind.
Exactly. You are so focused on the competition and doing your best, so you're not worried about the falling at all. Derek New, a student at CU, climbs at this gym, so got a hometown crowd of support tonight, and this is his first final in the Elite Series, and he's so excited to be here, and we have a little soundbite about that.
I'm so psyched. I'm a member at G1, so being able to climb in front of the home crowd in finals, I wanted to make finals for so long, and to be able to do it here I'm so psyched.
Basically just chomping at the bit to climb, to be honest, right? You can feel the excitement exuding through his body, just get me on that route.
Yeah, and it's cool to see the difference between the finalists up in isolation, and some of them are, a little bit calm, cool, some of them are super understated, and Derek was sort of vibrating with energy. And home field advantage, Megan, it's a real thing when you're used to the angles.
Yeah, I would agree that knowing the angles is helpful, and he actually was talking about too that just knowing where he can warm up in this gym, because a lot of the athletes are warming up in the bouldering area, so if these boulders have been up for a while, you kind of have a routine of what you're going to warm up on, because warming up for comps can be kind of tricky sometimes, so even that part of the home court advantage is really helpful.
And then you layer it in with what we heard from Adrian about being able to be at home between the rounds. It's it's 5 hours to kill. So it's all those things play a little bit into your favor, and just this move here, as we were mentioning, is quite committing, and the feet are they're terrible.
They're not great, and a little risky going in with a straight undercling. We saw Luke choose to go Gaston, and every climber is going to articulate the climbing in a different way. Showed really great commitment there after a little hesitation. I really like that toe hook he just found to get into this next shouldery section.
Yeah, it's just finding good body position. It's finding good opposition, and then maybe a double clip here. He's climbed himself into a positive lay back. Just able to get a little bit straighter in the arms, get a little bit more relaxed in the shoulders. You want to try and find those positions as much as you can. If you're not going to find a spot to rest, and we don't really have one until the jam that we saw Luke hang out in for a while. So you got to keep moving down here.
Yeah, when you get on that perch, you can really stand on your feet, because otherwise any rest you're going to find right now, the rest of your body is going to be so engaged. So you're only halfway resting in a sense. You can get something back, but you are having to make sure your body is so engaged. So it's kind of working in both directions. You're getting fatigued and resting at the same time, and do they really end in a positive? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a cost. You got to spend a little money, and what are you getting back out of it? So they're, it's not just forearm fatigue, whether your fingers can handle it. Routes like this over a weekend like this, you're going to start to feel it everywhere. So Derek climbing now into the big red pocket. Big is a strong word, 3-finger pocket.
Goes straight for that toe hook as well. Going to choose to clip here. We'll see if he then releases the toe hook to then hop across like we saw Luke do. Seems to be the best method. I think if you keep the toe, it's going to be a little more strenuous. Oh my gosh, is he going to ghost smash? Wow.
They looked down at the crowd for it too.
I'm sorry, I'm clapping right now. That was epic.
Derek knew.
That was great.
Look at that.
That was a risky choice to make. Oh, little Houdini there.
And then I love that he just had a little look down like, yeah, I did that. And then elected not to take any time. Is he now in sprint mode, Megan?
He might be. Honestly, though, he doesn't even look that tired. So maybe he's just going with the fact that he feels good right now.
Yeah, no need to settle and waste time. Just keep grabbing holds. Derek knew.
Oh, missed that foot, though. He is looking a little shaky now. Really nice climbing from Derek.
Super fun climbing.
Entertaining, for sure. The confidence to do that match that way. Another quick look at the Houdini or ghost match, whichever you want to call it. Very, very cool to see him do that. And he was set up so nicely. He made it look so easy. He's like, what? That was easy. I've got a great toe hook in. I wonder if the route setters expected that as an option. I mean, he is a taller competitor, so he can do that. Not all of the athletes are going to be that comfortable in the toe hook. They would be more extended, some of them. Like Sean Bailey, for example, I think would be more extended there. But, wow, that was really exciting.
It was really exciting. And I love the creativity that comes out in the lead round. Bouldering, of course, you have different things to try in your 4 minutes on the same boulder. You might see some different, I'll try this, then that. But on the lead route, you have to do it on the fly. So we talk about having plan A, plan B, plan C, plan C/1. And the quicker you're able to move through those and decide on the fly, I might have read it in this way, but I feel better doing my option B here and then making it look like that.
Exactly. We are clearly using every inch of this gym for spectators. We've got some photographers up here on this little roof that's on top of the mezzanine, as well as some other G1 employees, I believe.
VIPs.
I feel like this is one of the great things about holding this competition in Colorado. You always have a lot of people interested in coming to this competition because Colorado has so many climbers.
Yeah, it's they say that bringing that, the spirit of the outdoors and what's available here brings a lot of climbers to this area and other outdoor enthusiasts.
Yeah, and here we have Bob Dylan, and we talked to him earlier, and he was talking about just how grateful he is to be here in this position.
Well, for starters, I'm just super grateful to be here for my parents giving me this opportunity and being able to train hard and have high quality training down in Texas has just been a great opportunity.
I love that he took the time to thank his parents. I feel like that isn't mentioned enough. Like, so many of these athletes, they are young, and like their parents are making sacrifices so they can get the best training possible and get the opportunity to come to these elite level competitions and really start to build their climbing career at such a young age. So it's very, very mature, this Bob.
Very mature and a little bit humble. And that's when I was asking, what do you want to talk about? He's like, I want an opportunity to say how thankful I am to be here. And look, that's absolutely, that's what we're going to roll with. That's what you want to express.
That is so big. Bright future, that Bob.
And a heck of a climber. Moving through.
He has that opportunity because he already won bouldering to possibly, if he wins this competition, do exactly what Annie did. They're both from Texas. The only difference is this is Dylan's second year on the elite circuit, but pretty fantastic to have if both 15-year-olds and 16-year-old could make a double win at nationals. That would be incredible.
It would also be serving notice to the more established climbers that their time at the top is limited, perhaps. The future is nipping at their heels.
I think they've already realized that.
I think so. I think so.
You gotta always be on the top of your game. You can't leave any room because there's someone that's waiting there to take your spot.
Yeah, and they're nice about it at least, right?
Oh yeah. No, I'm not. There's definitely. It's not like rough back there. Everybody's friendly.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
They're not staring each other down back in ISO.
No. There's no jets and sharks things going on. I don't know if anyone's gonna get that reference.
What a fantastic reference, Megan. And I think Bob is gonna jump straight into it. Yeah.
That's so his style.
And he clips very fast.
Yes, he's a very efficient clipper for the most part. A couple of fumbles down low, but
I mean, he's moved through this the fastest of the three of them so far, and that was he climbed the semifinal like that as well. He is an explosive. He's a quick climber. You see here, looking at the clock, nothing to worry about, Bob. You've rocketed up here in 2.5 minutes, and is now going to take some time to try and recover. See this little perch. The body position isn't fantastic here, and if he can't find the jam, I mean, not everybody knows how to hand jam it. So you see him pinching.
oh man, yeah, he was just continuing to pinch and then ended up being forced to kind of do this little like double clutch. That's a good point. You know, not everybody does know how to jam. It's not really something that, I mean, now it is something we see in competitions a lot, but you know, it's not an indoor skill necessarily. I will say that, you know, depending on where you grow up, I live in California now, and there are cracks everywhere. That is something that you see a lot in the outdoor climbing, even when it's bouldering or sport climbing. You end up having to jam in a lot of situations that aren't just like crack climbing and trad climbing, you know? So if you don't have that opportunity, if people aren't setting it in the gym, which most people don't set jamming in the gym because it's messy.
Yeah, messy, and you know, it's weirdly dangerous.
That too. Like if you're gonna try to do some boulders that have hand jams on them in the gym, you're gonna have to fully tape up your hands, because otherwise you're gonna be so bloody, because the texture of the volumes are generally more rough than jamming on rock.
Yeah, agreed. And you know, you saw immediately there, you saw Derek miming out where did you often they get back to that area, the kiss and cry, and they're like, dude, how did you do? What did you do? And so I think that was Derek saying, yeah, I got up into this position I got into the pinch and slipped out. And I'm curious if Bob was pumped there and rushed it, or just rushed it. That wide pinch going out of the jam, he didn't look like he shifted his weight over it all and was reaching unnecessarily. So
he had both of his hands on the pinch, and that would for sure zap his energy a lot. So he kind of was in a precarious position because he didn't find the jam, and so he was trying to get out of it quickly, and he just kind of miscalculated the movement a little bit. And I do think it did make him a little tired there. I mean, we got to see Luke kind of rest there because he had the jam, because it really takes pressure off the rest of your body, and you can just kind of slot your hand in there. But when you're pinching, I mean, pinching and slopers, that open hand position will zap your energy so much more than any other hold type. So,
and it's in the steepest part of the wall. So although it might not translate to you at home, you are holding yourself up and in that position. And the footholds, while in a good position, they're small, they're rounded, they're a little bit greasy. Just a couple of decisions made there by Bob that maybe would have led to him, as you say, rushing the move out to that undercling. And the undercling, while good, isn't salvation. You're not going to catch a big swing.
Now we have Tim King on the wall. He's been in lead finals at nationals and team trials before, but he has yet to make a podium, and he is in a good spot to do that. So let's see if he can articulate his climbing in this finals round to maybe get there and have that new experience in the comp world, because he's definitely one of those climbers that is definitely capable of being on a podium. We just haven't seen it happen yet.
Yeah, he climbed really well. One of the few climbers to top a qualifier yesterday morning.
Yeah.
So he's got it in him, and he knows. I've been chatting with him a little bit off and on yesterday and today, and he knows he has it in him, and he says it's coming down to decision-making and small mistakes. So if he can climb to his game plan, he's got the fitness, he's got the wherewithal, he's got the pedigree to get himself up there and threaten a podium spot.
Yeah, it'd be really cool to see that happen for him. here today.
He's all around solid dude. I really liked him. He comes up
he's
and competes in Canada. He climbed to the Tour de Bloc. He went to the NACS in Montreal. He's just, he's good for the sport. He's nice to have around, and I'd love to see him climb to his full potential here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we had him on the live stream at Team Trials last year. It was really cool to have his perspective on a lot of things. He definitely has a great way of thinking about life and climbing in general. Very wise beyond his years.
And moving quickly here, let's see if he decides to take a rest on this kind of awkward dual textured crimp. They do the heel hook, maybe sucks you in a little bit to a body position that's better than the handhold is going to let you recover on. But he does look pretty comfortable here. As one of the sort of taller, leggier climbers, he's finding good position.
Yeah, and having that wrap too. Ooh, I like taking that other wrap to kind of make that movement a little easier. Wraps definitely help alleviate some of the stress and tension on your body as well. Really smart climbing so far by Tim.
Straight into that. I love it. You have to release the hand on the way. The span is too big to keep your right hand on, so it is a bit of a coordination move right in the heart of a lead final.
It is really cool how they've set this up, because this is kind of where bouldering and lead combine a bit. Like, they do that cool coordination move, and then they have to get perched up in this awkward position, and you didn't see that like 15 years ago in lead climbing. I mean, even like 10 years ago. So it's just so cool how this discipline has evolved so much. And it's just so exciting to watch.
And you see Tim working on, a bit of a hand jam, but he's mostly just using it to come across, and now he's going to come out to the layback. Tim Kang doesn't look like he's breathing too heavy, but now evaluating, and this makes me nervous.
I know, because he looked up right, but hopefully he's going to go to this one on the left first.
Good work, Tim.
Oh, skipping. Oh, man, skipping that crimp up and left. That makes it a little bit easier to get into that right hand, but still really great climbing there by Tim Kang.
Yeah, that's, and now he looks out of breath. So as you see him tip over and take a few very deep breaths, that thumbs up for the camera. Great climbing, and that half a handhold away, Megan. If he gets a little bit more on his right foot, he manages to latch that pinch, maybe we see 2 or 3 more moves.
Yeah, I feel like he, just with a little misreading of the sequence, kind of put himself in a bad situation, because I think he could have gotten up onto that head wall. But currently sitting in 3rd place. We'll see if he can hold on to that. That would be the first podium for him if it happens. So we'll just have to wait and see.
4 down, Megan, and 4 to come. Up next will be Hugo Hoyer. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Whether you're alpine climbing or cragging after work, Gnarly Nutrition is here to help you push your possible.
So yeah, we've been testing out the new catch and hold system from the TrueBlue IQ Plus. And with the IQ Plus, you're just able to stop there, rest, shake out, try to figure out the moves, and yeah, really excited to have this new device in our gym. It's going to just really help us to continue growing the sport.
We fight the battles no one hears about. We drop into the middle of firefights to rescue others. And act as one-man air traffic control towers. We're the ones who go before all others. Join the fight.
Since 1966, we have viewed walls not as obstacles, but as opportunities. From the big walls of Yosemite to the high peaks of the Himalaya, we were searching for a personal kind of freedom. In this pursuit, we found a community, strengthened by different stories, experiences, and perspectives. This community has shown us that the only way forward is together.
This is not just a climbing gym. You can come here and be whoever you want to be. I was a lost soul, and I had affiliated with the gang life at the age of 12, but I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have a place like this I can come to, and those were the only people at the time I can relate to. But the more I started coming to Memphis Rocks, I started to meet kids who don't look like me. I was like everyone else because I looked around and everybody's in the gym doing the same thing, climbing. A lot of the problems I had on the ground, once I got on the wall, they stayed on the ground. It makes my soul like want to jump out of my body because I know the more kids that are in here, the less kids that are out there that can get in trouble.
Welcome back. We are right smack in the middle of the 2022 Yeti Climbing National Championships. In the lead round, we had just a little hold work getting done up there. So we'll look at our standings after the first 4 climbers. Luke Muring sitting at the top at 27 plus, followed closely by Derek New, Timothy Kang, and then Bob Dylan Countryman 23 plus. We are very happy to be joined by Zach Gala in the booth. Zach, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So what have you thought of this finals round so far, and what do you think of the route?
It's definitely been super interesting. I see that the beginning is really risky. A lot of climbers have managed to make it through and make it a lot higher, but depending on how efficiently you can make it through this beginning section of the route, definitely influences how far you're going to go through that crux boulder section up there at the top.
When you looked at the section past the pocket, if you were reading it, did you see the hand jam that we've seen some of the men use to get around?
Definitely not, no. I saw double undercling and then go to that pinch.
Okay. Kind of more what Dylan did?
Yeah, definitely. And but the hand jam, if it fits well for you, it can definitely take a lot of weight off of those muscles in your hands that you're typically using through grabbing the smaller holds through the beginning. So I could see it being efficient. It makes sense now that I've seen some of the climbers do it.
Zach, when you preview a route like this and you look up and you see that pocket and you immediately go, wait a minute, they want us to do something funky. Is that in your mind when you're starting the route, is get to the red pocket, do the footless move, or do you sort of deal with everything, as it comes?
I definitely try to deal with everything as it comes because it's really hard in these scenarios where you can't watch the climbers go before you. You really don't know from the ground what's going to be hard. You definitely want to keep those sections in mind because those are very sequential and you need to do them the right way in order to make progress on the route. But I'm not just thinking about that one spot. I'm definitely taking it one move at a time and trying to get as high as I can.
Hugo Hoyer now starting out on the men's route, and we talked to him a little bit earlier when they checked in from ISO, just about coming out and, basically just coming out and working hard.
I'm kind of just going to try and go out there and just try and climb as hard as I possibly can, but whatever happens, happens, and I'm not going to be super bummed if I do terribly, but I'll be super excited if I do really well. So.
Yeah, he was saying that his goal was to make semis. So now that he was in the final, it was all bets are off at this point.
I feel generally people have the goal of getting into either the semis or the finals, and then the rest is kind of the cherry on top. But for Hugo, he's already had a great week coming forth in bouldering. This is his first season in the Elite Series. He's also a really good sport climber. He won Youth Nationals in lead this year, and as we've learned, that youth competition is quite stacked, so when they come into the Elite Series, it's not so aggressive all the time. I feel they find success quite early.
Yeah, the transition is getting very smooth from the youth to the open. Zach, this younger generation, as it were, you're not that far removed from it. Is it exciting to look down and see 15 and 16-year-olds climbing in finals at a national level?
Yeah, for sure, and especially people like Hugo. I grew up climbing in in the South. So I'm very familiar with Hugo. He's out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So yeah, I'm very familiar with seeing Hugo at a lot of the youth comps, and he's always impressed. So I'm not surprised to see him here on the open level and doing very well.
I will say when I saw his name registered, I was like, oh my gosh, he's so much tall. Like seeing his height, I was like, wow, he grew so much. I had no idea.
Something, I mean, it's funny, as you joke about it, coming through that growth period between 13, 14, 15, 16, your limbs might get a whole lot longer. You might put on 20 or 30 pounds. You got a whole new frame to wrestle up, lead routes and boulders. Yeah,
definitely. It can be a hard transition to deal with sometimes, but it seems like Hugo's taking it very well, and his climbing's only gotten better through it.
Yeah, so that's an understatement, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
He got caught up on that wrap a second ago, but I feel like he had a good save there again here. Just needs to get to the pocket.
Yeah, it looked like he was hustling a bit there to get in and out of that right-hand crimp.
Really not the section we've seen people kind of struggle with. So interesting that he felt a little uncomfortable and was finding himself in the wrong positions a few times, but definitely handled it well. He's a very composed competitor at such a young age.
Yeah, and he went toe hook around the outside instead of the jam that was more available, and maybe a little bit taller. He found that position to be more comfortable.
He's now going for that pinch method as well. Let's see if he ends up trying to slot. See, this is why it's tricky, because now you have your hands facing both ways, and this is what Dylan was trying to do, but
does get the flip.
Wasn't able to kind of hug the volume like Hugo did to do the flip, so it was a little more dynamic.
Sneaking a little half rest. And interesting here, when we up into this pinch, after that we saw Timmy drop straight across to the next big pinch, and there's another crimp on the volume, which is the next hold in sequence. So going to the crimp is better for your points than going straight to that next large pinch to the right.
But I
see what Hugo does. I can see
you would get matched up here and start to think you should just go out right first.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Making
Hugo
a
Hoyer
good
there.
decision.
Yeah, that's great work. So this is getting now to Luke Muring's high point. And that hold looks awful. It's really hard to tell from the ground, but I think that hold is terrible.
I talked to Ryan Sewell earlier, one of the route setters, and he was like, yeah, that hold is not good. But there's a foot sequence there where you can get yourself back into a few more drop knees to make that hold better. Once you stick it, you come out of that one drop knee and then set another drop knee with the other leg. But we just haven't seen any of the men be able to latch that yet.
They come in kind of sprinting, so they're not slowing down and thinking about it. You see, it's essentially like a flat edge on the underside of a big volume, and you got to be accurate. You got to hold body tension. The feet are really far away there, Zach, too. And how much do you look at full body position? Are you trying to measure from the ground, that's a panel and a half, that's going to be a long reach for me? Or again, do you think, if my hands are in good shape, I'll deal with it when I get there?
Yeah, you try to judge as best as you can from the ground, but sometimes the drop knees are farther away than you think, and things don't feel as comfortable as you might have expected from the ground, and sometimes they are more comfortable. So you really just try to get a general idea, but you really got to play it by ear when you get up there on the wall, when you're not able to watch other people before you.
Yeah, and you sort of say, interesting that you said sometimes the drop knees are a little bit farther apart, and sometimes they're not as bad as you think, and you might surprise yourself with a rest maybe that you weren't going to take. We have been talking about different styles across the women's round. We saw 3 or 4 different approaches. Speaking just for yourself, are you a sprint climber, or are you keep the tank at the same rate the whole way? Like, how do you like to approach a lead route?
I found for myself, especially in my current shape, I just try to get the quick shakes, and I'm just kind of like a sprint all the way type of person. But yeah, whenever I can find those nice positions and I can get a couple shakes, I take them, but I'm not one that can really camp out and get too much benefit from that.
I'm with you. I'm 100% a sprinter. I don't recover well, so I just run up as quick as I can. Ellis Ernsberger coming out now, and heard from him when he checked in from isolation.
I kind of just hope that I can fight on the wall. Sometimes it happens where you get to a point and you fall, but you didn't really feel like you were super pumped and you didn't get to perform at your best. So all I'm really hoping for is to get super pumped and do my best. So.
A funny thing to wish for, to get super pumped, but it's telling that the higher you get on the route, of course, the more pumped you're going to be when you come down.
Well, and that's going back to focusing just on your performance versus placement. At the end of the day, you want to know that you tried your hardest. If your hardest gave you 10th place, like, that's great. If it gave you first place, that's also great. The last thing you want to do is know that you didn't perform to your ability.
And definitely with these new style of comp routes, like, there's difficulty comes from a lot of places, and fitness is not the only place. So a lot of the technical sequences and just really like bad, risky feet and stuff like that can really spit you off the wall earlier than you might expect, and you really don't feel like you had a fighting chance. But yeah, definitely like getting pumped on the wall and falling because you're tired like feels really good on these routes, and you kind of know that you climbed to your potential.
And you had mentioned just when you were talking about the route earlier that it's very tensiony, very risky, very, you're full on right from the ground. The semifinals route was like that as well, so that in the slightly shorter wall height, you got to find ways to make people be uncomfortable and get them tired a little bit sooner.
Definitely, and I think a really confident climber can climb through those risky positions and like bad feet and stuff in the beginning and feel really confident. And if you're able to do that, you can conserve a lot of energy for the more like bouldery, like straightforward cruxes of the top of the wall. And that's kind of seemed to be the theme through the semifinal and the final round.
Yeah, that's really well said, is to conserve that energy and get ready for the small fighting sections that you got to punch through. And this is getting into one of them. And we've seen a couple of different rests here. This heel hook feels, looks like it feels more comfortable for some of the taller, reachier climbers, and then getting this wrap. Timmy did a really good job of shortening the next move by wrapping the top of the volume. And you see Ellis on the long reach, and that starts to burn that left arm out when you got to lock it off like that. Hold that pivot out.
And they're forced to get their feet so high right after, so you really have to like pull into that undercling, which after all of that climbing doesn't feel great.
Just getting balanced on the wall here. Electing to clip later than pretty much everyone. No stress.
He looks pretty comfortable still, so we'll see if that... Trying to get a jam there, nice.
Yeah, and it's a much quicker clipping
panicked,
position. Yeah.
He's in a jam now, though. A little reverse jam.
I think even if this position feels pretty strenuous, it's very unlike anything else you've seen on the route so far, so your arms aren't really tired in that same hand position.
Yeah. So it's like kind of a taking a second to smile, so clearly he's having fun.
Strained, but a smile nonetheless. Getting a little bit of extra help from the crowd, finding a few shakes here.
And Ellis has been in this position before. He's been in multiple lead finals, was third at team trials last year, so been on the podium. I'm sure he'd love to be on the podium here tonight. And I feel like that is, I mean, wouldn't you say, Zach, the more finals you're in, the more, I mean, I guess not the less amount of stress, but it's just different because you've been there before. You know that you know how it goes, and you can, climb to your ability.
Definitely. I think the confidence goes a really long way in these rounds. Like, if you know you're capable of being at that level and making the final round, you have a lot different mindset going into the semifinal and beyond. So
I really like this position. That high heel took almost all of the big swing out of that move that we saw previous climbers get to. Ellis getting some micro shakes. Ellis going for
It's
the
a little
crimp.
span, though. With that left heel hook low, it kind of puts him in a more span position to get out to that next pinch.
And grabbing that crimp, just based on the sequence and the route map, it gives him a lot more points, even though he might seem like he got to the same position as earlier climbers.
Yeah, that puts him in a third place position right now. With just two climbers to go, how are we already to two more climbers?
I don't know.
That's insane.
Yeah, I wanted to. Let's start from the beginning again. Let's wrap it up and turn everyone around and start again. So we got
Sean number 2.
Yeah, we're 2 to go. Sean Bailey and Jesse Grouper. And if you were going to put bets on people to top this route, they would be right up at the top of my money list.
For sure. Yeah, I'm really excited to see both of them climb on this route. It's interesting because I feel like this route plays to both of their strengths, actually.
I totally agree, yeah.
Sean was saying that he likes a route that's sustained, where he's not climbing crux rest. It's just like, hey, turn it on and keep going. So that's currently where we sit. Hugo Hoyer is just ahead of Luke Muring based on his semifinal result. And Ellis Ernsberger, Derek New, Tim Kang, and Dylan, also known as Bob Countryman, with 2 to go. It is, I mean, gold and silver medals are on the line.
Yeah, and Hugo is in a great spot now. He's going to walk away with a podium finish no matter what.
It's a good feeling when you're sitting in that chair.
And when you're 15 years old.
Oh my goodness. The youngest podiums. This is, I mean, it's fantastic to see. I love to see it.
You're making me nervous by just saying the youngest podiums, because there was a time in the early 2000s when a lot of young people were competing at these competitions and being on the podium. So I feel like we need to fact check that a little. I don't know why. It just makes me nervous. I just don't know if it's true.
I'm going to be confidently incorrect if that's what it comes down to, but I'm just laying it out there. I just like the way it sounds,
Megan. The times of the Alex Puccios and the Daniel Woods, they were very young at that time.
So, anyone who thinks that we're wrong, by all means, throw the text message out there and tell us what we need to know.
I mean, actually, if you think if Pete's wrong, I'm not signing off on this.
You planted the seed, Megan. You planted the seed. Sean Bailey here moving into the beginning of this route into the risky section. As we were talking about a little bit earlier, he does want to come across a route that's maybe a little bit more sustained, a little bit more consistent from bottom to top.
Yeah, I mean, just consistent, I think. Consistent with varied styles, maybe some pinching, some crimping, and then just, hard resistance at the top would be my thing.
That sounds like he described this route.
Doesn't really like this section, but he's a seasoned competitor, so able to get through, and obviously is phenomenal lead climber, but that honestly made me a little nervous. I don't know about you, Zach, but I feel like my hands got a little sweaty there.
Just sort of didn't like it, and you have to suffer through. Like, I mean, Zach, how often do you come across the perfect route? So you get faced with things you're like, oh, that's gonna suck, but I'm just gonna do my job.
Yeah, it's kind of, it always ends up like that in the competitions. Like, the route setters always seem like they're really out to like put you in very uncomfortable positions, but I think Sean's a climber who is like very capable of finding comfort in those uncomfortable positions, so I think he can do really well on this route.
And when you think about his World Cup experience, World Cup route setters are even ratcheted up a level from here, so he's used to being punched in the nose coming out of isolation. It's whether or not he's in the mood, of course, to be punched in the nose, and you never are, but he's very, very good at adapting, and he's had a fantastic couple of seasons.
Definitely,
coming into this.
Sean's an extremely strong sport climber. And I know he's really good on that resistance style, and I know he's really looking for the same things that Ellis was saying in his little preview speech. He really wants like a nice resistant climb where he can really just show his fitness, and hopefully he's able to find his way through the more risky sections of this route to get to that like more straightforward fighting section of the top.
Yeah.
And it'll be really exciting to see somebody up on that head wall, and I'm hoping we'll get that from both Sean and Jesse. It'd be cool to see a fight in that last section of the route between the two of them.
And you're talking about somebody who's got World Cup gold medals as soon as last season.
Not just national gold medals, but also World Cup gold medals in both disciplines. Yeah.
40-odd trips to lead World Cups makes you good at lots and lots of different things. Sean Bailey up here, I'm going to say faster than anyone to this point.
Definitely moving quickly. Found the jam really fast as well.
And fits better in this small box than maybe some of the taller climbers.
In a really nice perch position right now, taking a lot of weight off of his hands. So
not even going to rest that long. He probably has so much in the tank still.
He is looking fresh for sure.
Love this little half drop knee.
Oh, nice clipping stance.
That toe hook. Funky little toe hook. And then in control here, Sean Bailey.
He found the
other drop knee.
Now he should be able to find one more.
That's the high point. Getting matched up on this flat edge, making it look very good. Look at this, he's gonna chalk in the lock off.
Did he even get in his chalk bag? I'm not sure.
I might have missed it by that much.
Now this next hold that he's going to go to is not very good. You can see it is blocked. And then a huge cross move to the finish.
Sean Bailey, one hand on the end of legs to go. Sean Bailey is going to top your finals route here and guarantee a podium spot. Only remains to be seen what color. Sean Bailey, the crowd loves it. Atop here at G1.
I really love that inside flag too at the top. It's
Yeah,
very,
really
very
smart
nice.
method.
Very, I can't talk anymore. Very, very nice.
He didn't hesitate. He had his sequence up
He
there
didn't at
dialed in
all.
and just rocked through that.
Finding that left drop knee earlier was so good. None of the other men have been able. They've all been just kind of dynamically trying to move instead of locking it down and trying to control that whole movement section. But
yeah, they looked
man.
a bit desperate, everyone getting up to those pinches, and this getting that, as you say, the step and the drop knee, and then here, just, I mean, even having enough gas to have his feet cut going to the last hold is, I mean, it's a bucket. It's the biggest hold you're going to find out of the whole weekend.
He
well
was
deserved.
very controlled on the cross as well, which was smart. He didn't try to kind of go too dynamic. He really held it, locked it in as long as he could so he could get his hand on it and then kind of release, which was really smart.
There you go. Sean Bailey crushing this route. Pressure is on Jesse Grouper to follow. I would imagine, I mean, the crowd has gone off. So in ISO, he's either thinking that's just a really good high point, or is he thinking that the route has been topped? And Zach, do you walk out, if you're coming out last, you've heard the crowd go off, does it change your approach? You're like, my goal was to top the route anyway, so it doesn't matter if Sean topped it, I'm just going out to top the route.
I don't think it changes my approach in any way, but my mindset definitely shifts knowing that the route is possible. Yeah, it definitely changes the way that you go into the route. It could be, sometimes if you're in a good mindset, it could be really beneficial to know that it is possible, and sometimes if you're like a little worried about the route and you think it's something that's not in your style, it can really get in your head and it can be really stressful, but I think Jesse definitely has what it takes to finish this route as well.
So just layering on all the other bits of pressure that we get, so as if climbing hard routes wasn't enough, you kind of tip into that, what do I have to do with? And Megan, you said it really well yesterday, it's about opportunity, not just about pressure. Jesse Grouper, our last climber out, can he get himself a spot on the podium? Hear what he had to say when he was hanging out in ISO a little bit earlier this afternoon.
I've been doing nationals since I was a kid, and it's always a great feeling to come out to a crowd that I know and love and a lot of friends and family here. I think it'll be a really exciting time, and I'm really looking forward to giving it my all and staying optimistic on the wall.
Staying optimistic.
Jesse has always had a really good attitude ever since he was a kid. That's one of the things I feel like he's known for. So it's nice to see that that hasn't changed at all. And speaking of success and whatnot, like we were talking about with Sean, Jesse, another athlete who's had not only national championship titles, but also won World Cup lead competitions as well. So, now something I don't think we have had is a competition where you've had their accolades internationally and then going against each other in this national competition. We haven't seen as much of that in the past as we're seeing now. So many of the athletes these days have been on the podium consistently, and it's not just one athlete, but it's multiples, and then they all come back to this competition or to team trials, and so the competition is just so stiff all the time.
Yeah, definitely. The U.S. level of competition has grown a lot in the past year. I think people like Jesse, Sean, and Colin all really pushing themselves in the World Cup circuit and getting podium spots kind of raises the bar for everybody else to try to meet, and it's really good, and it's been really nice for the U.S. team to have that kind of inspiration. So,
I mean, 4 World Cup medals from Jesse in 2022. That's a heck of a season by anyone's measurement.
And now one thing that Jesse will have to be mindful of is time on this route. He has timed out on many routes in his life, or come very close to timing out. He does climb a bit slower, so though he is definitely capable of topping this route, if he doesn't pay attention to the clock, there is a chance he could time out.
Yeah, Jesse is known for his insane
notorious.
He can go way longer than anybody else. Even when it looks like he might be pumped on the wall, he has the capability of doing way more moves than you might think. So he's definitely able to stay on the wall a really long time. So hopefully he can keep a good pace and make it up there towards the top. So
of all the things to be known for.
Yeah.
I mean, good endurance is definitely the staple for Jesse.
Yeah, that's the subtext, isn't
Yeah.
it? He can stay on the wall for longer than 6 minutes.
Yeah, see, I got a sprint.
See,
like,
yeah,
if I'm on
same.
the wall
Like,
for
there's
6
no
minutes.
way. The only time I feel like I'm ever on the wall for 6 minutes is outside because it's so different. Outdoor climbing, there's so many more rests, and it's like not the same. But in the gym, I don't think I probably never even made it past like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, same here.
Jesse Grouper now getting into a, so, you know, he'll find this rest, I think, probably, and stay there a little longer. And Sean got like 2 shakes and got the heck out of there. And everything's pointing to Jesse taking a good amount of time to recover here. I like this wrap. If you can get that sort of press against the volume with your palm, and just like that, he's going to bust out. Okay, he's going to keep moving here. Grouper
Now this section too, standing up in there, he's a lot taller than a lot of the athletes, about 5'11", so his legs, you could see it was a little harder to get into that standing position, but he handled it really well. Straight to those toe jams.
Double toe jams, and the setter said that, you know, that immediately takes a little bit of weight off that left hand, but he's you don't want to stay there forever. An excellent look. Those footholds are, the dual texture part of that makes you uncomfortable. You can't get the purchase that you want.
Another look down at the clock there, which is wise. See, he knows himself too. He knows he needs to keep checking that clock because he takes a lot more time.
Yeah, it would be a disaster to time out of a route that you knew you had the physicality to finish.
I think it was team trials last year. He like topped the route in the last like 3 seconds or something during finals. It was between him and Colin. They both topped, but Jesse almost ran out of time and like literally did the dyno at the very end. It was so exciting.
It's exciting, but it's not the kind of excitement that your coach or your parents or your friends want.
That's for sure.
Yeah, everyone watching at home, it's great. For us, it's great. For everyone
great
else,
entertainment.
It's high stress. But he's looking pretty fresh here. Doesn't I don't see any signs of that fatigue creeping in.
He didn't even
Micro
use
shakes.
the jam. He really does look so fresh still. It's actually insane.
A little Euro blow on the way to the crimp. And then clipping from this position, kind of blows my mind. But
even though he is tall, he's quite flexible, really good at getting into a drop knee like that.
Super deep drop
He just
knee.
looked at the clock one more time, too, in one of the hardest sections of the route.
Tons of time. Jesse Grouper needs a top to win gold to take the national championship. See Luke looking on. Jesse Grouper looking every bit as though he is going to have enough gas in the tank to finish this route. What do you got, Jesse?
Doesn't seem to really like that hold.
Getting out of this heel position seems really hard from up this high. I think he needs to go back down to release the heel. There he goes.
Very smart.
Take a step through. Now, maybe he is going to get into a little bit of trouble. Jesse Grouper right on the doorstep. Going to take himself a silver medal, and that's a quick look as a result of that. Sean with a little blink. Maybe surprised, maybe not. It looked like Jesse was going to send that route.
I was going to say that last section might feel a little awkward for him being so tall. Like, it looked like he was a little big for that box. Like, his weight grabbing that undercling pushed him into more of a barn door position than it did for Sean. But I think he handled it well, and, you know, you can't win every competition. Still incredible climbing from Jesse Grouper.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give other people a chance. Last year's national champion, climbing really, really well. You see, as we were talking about reversing the foot position, and then as he was forced into this match, just didn't like that high foot, and, you know, the fatigue, the whole body fatigue shows itself there when you can't hold the right body position to get into that foot placement.
Definitely, and I think also getting that foot up real high, I believe Sean did it from a lot lower. I think he did it from matched on the hold under the volume. And that kind of sets you up a lot better. Once you climb past it, it's really tough to bring that foot back in.
And that's exactly what they're talking about right there. Zach, I want to say thank you very, very much for hanging out with us, giving your unique insights into the athletes, into the route, into the process. Super fun to hang out.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so great to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
We are now going to go and wrangle ourselves a winner. Sean Bailey is in his chair. He's got a half a gym to cover. And Megan is going to go and track him down as we have a quick look. Al in the room is going to show you your podium.
In second place, Jesse Grouper. And in first place, make some noise for Sean Bailey. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Broomfield, you've been absolutely sensational this evening. Thank you so much for having us.
There is your podium.
Hang out for a little while.
Sean Bailey, Jesse Grouper, and Hugo Hoyer. So Sean Bailey with a silver medal in bouldering earlier in the week, and then a gold medal here today. The only climber to top both qualifying routes, getting very close to the top on the semifinal, and then topping this final to win himself a gold medal. What a way to take it home. There's your full leaderboard. Sean Bailey, Jesse Grouper just behind. Hugo Hoyer staying ahead of Luke Muring on the semifinal countback. Ellis Ernsberger staying ahead of Derek New on the semifinal. Timothy Kang and Dylan Bob Countryman rounding out your top 8. Megan Martin is standing by with our national champion for 2022, Sean Bailey.
Sean, I know you were hoping to get a more sustained route. How did that feel for you?
It wasn't the most sustained route, to be honest, but it was really fun. So I had a good time.
And you've been the national champion before. You've won lead World Cups, but still, how does it feel to walk away with another title?
It feels good. You know, it's been a long season and I haven't gotten all the results I wanted, so cool to have a good one at the end of the year.
And you're not having just one, but 2 podiums this weekend, so I'm sure that feels great as well, going into a little rest period before the next season ramps up.
True, yeah. Yeah, the two podiums is nice, so yeah, I don't know, I'll take it.
Well, huge congratulations on being national champion.
Yeah, thank you.
Was that not good? No, it was good, just to laugh at the end.
All right, that is Sean Bailey finishing his interview up with Megan Martin. Always a good time. You know what we've got for you guys? A Yeti move of the day. This wonderful match from earlier in the final. We call it the Houdini. Derek New getting in and out of this red pocket on the cute. Ready to look down at the crowd. A good look at it from the top down here. Derek New with a little showmanship on the finals route. That's going to be your Yeti move of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, what a final, Megan. What a final.
It was incredibly exciting. I loved every minute of it. Both the women's and the men's routes were awesome and very different, very dynamic, entertaining. And it's just cool to see athletes come out here and get high on the route and fight really hard. That's what you want to see each time.
Absolutely agree. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here in Colorado. 5 action-packed days of climbing, 6 national champions. We had veterans, we had youngsters sharing the stage and sharing the podiums. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you on these live stream broadcasts. Thank you to all the volunteers. Thank you to G1 and The Spot, USA Climbing, and thanks to you guys at home. Megan Martin, thank you for hanging out with me all week. I had a really good time. Your insight is invaluable. I'm Pete Woods. Good night. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
We fight the battles no one hears about.
We drop into the middle of firefights to rescue others.
And act as one-man air traffic control towers.
We're the ones who go before all others. Join the fight.
Since 1966, we have viewed walls not as obstacles, but as opportunities. From the big walls of Yosemite to the high peaks of the Himalaya, we were searching for a personal kind of freedom. In this pursuit, we found a community, strengthened by different stories, experiences, and perspectives. This community has shown us that the only way forward is together.
Paging, top 3 men, top 3 women. Please report to the speed wall to prepare for the award ceremony. One more time, we're looking for our top 3 men and women. Please report to the speed wall. We're gonna get you some medals. One more announcement for you. Once again, we are looking for our top 3 men, top 3 women. Please head to the speed wall for staging for the award ceremony. That's Kyra Condi, Quinn Mason, Annie Sanders, Hugo Hoyer, Jesse Grouper, and Sean Bailey. Please head to the speed wall. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the awards ceremony for the 2022 Yeti National Championships at G1 Climbing and Fitness in Broomfield, Colorado. We again want to thank our national brand partners for helping make this event possible. They are Yeti, The North Face, Prudential, EP Climbing, Petzl, and all of our hold and volume partners. We also want to thank, of course, G1 Climbing and Fitness for having us here, and another shout out to all of our volunteer staff who make this thing run. Let me hear your voices one time. Awards will be presented by Mark Norman, CEO of USA Climbing, Jason Haas, owner of G1 Climbing and Fitness, and two different USA Climbing board members, Avery Cook and Dustin Skinner. And I've got a quick note on these two individuals, Avery and Dustin. They have served on the USA Climbing Board for 8 years. They are coming to the end of their term, and they will no longer be on the USA Climbing Board, and I want you to give a round of applause for their 8 years of service to USA Climbing. Now please welcome the women's lead medalists. In third place, taking the bronze medal, Kyra Condi. In second place, taking the silver medal, Quinn Mason. And in first place, taking the gold medal, your 2022 Women's Lead National Champion, Annie Sanders. And now please welcome the men's lead medalists. In third place, taking the bronze medal, Hugo Hoyer. In second place, taking the silver medal, Jesse Grouper. And in first place, taking the gold medal, your 2022 Men's Lead National Champion, Sean Bailey. very last thing on our list, it is time to announce the members of the 2023 U.S. Lead National Team. So starting with the men's team, we have Sean Bailey, Hugo Hoyer, Luke Muring, Ellis Ernsberger, Derek New, and already pre-selected based off of the 2022 World Cup season, we've got Colin Duffy and Jesse Grouper. Let's hear it for every single one of them. Moving on to the women's team, we have Annie Sanders, Quinn Mason, Kyra Condi, Zoe Yee, Adrian Akiko, and already pre-selected based off the same 2022 World Cup season, Natalia Grossman and Brooke Rabatu. Let's hear a round of applause for them as well.
Whether you're alpine climbing or cragging after work, Gnarly Nutrition is here to help you push your possible.
So yeah, we've been testing out the new catch and hold system from the TrueBlue IQ Plus. And with the IQ Plus, you know, you're just able to stop there, rest, shake out, try to figure out the moves, and yeah, really excited to have this new device in our gym. It's going to just really help us to continue growing the sport.
We fight the battles no one hears about.
We drop into the middle of firefights to rescue others.
And act as one-man air traffic control towers.
We're the ones who go before all others. Join the fight.
Since 1966, we have viewed walls not as obstacles, but as opportunities. From the big walls of Yosemite to the high peaks of the Himalaya, we were searching for a personal kind of freedom. In this pursuit, we found a community, strengthened by different stories, experiences, and perspectives. This community has shown us that the only way forward is together.
This is not just a climbing gym. You can come here and be whoever you want to be. I was a lost soul. I had affiliated with the gang life at the age of 12, but I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have a place like this I could come to, and those were the only people at the time I can relate to. But the more I started coming to Memphis Rocks, I started to meet kids who don't look like me. I was like everyone else because I looked around and everybody's in the gym doing the same thing, climbing. A lot of the problems I had on the ground, once I got on the wall, they stayed on the ground. It makes my soul like want to jump out of my body because I know the more kids that are in here, the less kids that are out there that can get in trouble.